Hi, this is Seamless, and today I'm going to go over a whole bunch of odd and ends, cool things that you can do, and involving Citrus and the Vocodex and stuff like that. And also, you should vote for my remix. You should. It would make me happy. I'm not in the top 10 anymore. I think I need like 20 votes to get back in the top 10, so like whatever. But still, vote for it. Do it. Anywho. So first thing I'm going to do is show you a neat trick in Citrus to get an effect called oscillator sync. Well, we're not actually doing what oscillator sync actually is. We're doing kind of a cheat. It's a trick that Nucleon in the ImageLine forums showed me. I think it's cool. So we're going to start with our basic default patch loaded in right there. It's a sine wave. So we're going to turn operator 1 into a saw wave, and also turn operator 2 into a saw wave. Then we're just gonna modulate 1 by 2. And there you go. Oscillator sync. This isn't doing what I said before. What oscillator sync actually does is it takes one oscillator and then it restarts the period of the other oscillator based on that oscillator. So like if one was a different pitch or something, it would regardless of that, it would still restart every single time the waveform completed of the first oscillator, which creates that effect. That's not what's happening at all when you modulate a saw wave by another saw wave, but the end result kind of sounds the same. You can do this in FM8 just by doing the same thing. You can also do this in Massive by loading up the sync wave table. Big whoop. So yeah, there's all that. That's just cool. So the other thing I want to show you is using Vocodex or really any other vocoder with the bass, but without a modulator, just by itself. So first, let's build an FM bass that sounds cool. I'm using an FM bass just because that's what I like, but you don't necessarily need to use an FM bass. Like you could use one of the resampled basses from the Harmer stuff. You could just put that in there, and that could do some cool things. But I'm just doing FM because I like it. So operator 2 to a triangle, modulate operator 1 by 100%. Go to operator 1, go to mod, and set modifier X to control the modulator amount of operator 1. Right click, create automation clip. Let's just make a... And by the way, you should vote for my remix. Ha ha ha. Yeah. I'm going to put in another operator into operator 1. This one's going to be pitched up a lot. Also going to be a triangle. Good times. Then I'm going to modulate operator 3 by operator 4. That's good enough for now. So let's put that in the channel. I already have Vocodex. I'm going to enable it now. So I started saying this off by saying that I'm using the Vocodex without a modulator, which is not technically true. What's happening is that the bass that I'm putting in there is the carrier and also the modulator, which, if you think about it, just means that it should just be the normal sound that comes out, right? And it would if this were a higher resolution vocoder, like if it were like a 512 band or a 1024 band vocoder, then it might sound just like the same sound. But the fact that it isn't full resolution, and the point of a vocoder is to change the modulator to apply it to the carrier more effectively, which makes it not sound the same. Like it changes the modulator. The whole point of the vocoder is to mess with the modulator to make the carrier change differently. So this means that we can use the Vocodex to change change how this bass is being interpreted, and then apply it to itself basically. And you can do some neat things. So I'm just gonna mess around and then I'll explain what's going on. Okay, so what was all that? So up in this, I'm gonna go back to this window. Up in this window here, we have these controls and this setting and that setting and all this stuff, all these things. And what do they do? Well, I've covered them in the previous videos, but I'll address them shortly. So, still don't know what this order button does. I read the manual thing. It didn't really make it clear to me what it was. It might help you if you read the manual. So, whatever I managed not to explain to you, just read manual for things, and hopefully that will do a better job. This obviously controls how many bands there are, like obvious difference is obvious. This is the bandwidth. This is the global overall bandwidth. So there's that. This is the bandwidth multiplier, and basically one to one side, like it's normally on the 0 position, and one side favors the modulator, and the other side favors the carrier. Let's mess with that, and cool effects will happen. This is the modulator pitch shift. So what this does is it changes the pitch of the modulator. Now, why does that matter? It's because basically the EQ shape of the modulator is what is being applied to the carrier via the bands that show up in the main window. So if you change the pitch, it changes the position of the EQ peaks and whatever, and then that moves around where the bands go. So the pitch is changing, but the actual, like, the end result is not that the pitch is changing. It just changes the EQ emphasis of the bands. Kind of the same thing with this unison knob going on here. This is also stereo separation, which I tend not to use a lot of. But I'm using two voices, but the voice difference is modulator pitch, like a normal unison in a synth where it changes in pitch. It changes in the modulator pitch, but so that what that means is that there's more than one voice of a more than one EQ profile going on with the bandwidth, the bands, and the band distribution. So if I'm way up here, you could hear like the high end and the low end. If it just go back down here, it's only the low end. And stuff. And so then we have these windows here. This turns on step editing. Step editing, if you remember, is what allows you to do the draw, whereas not step editing means everything is point by point. I like step editing for when I'm doing big sweeping changes like this. Also, if you right click, it deletes the points that you put in. So there's that. That's what that means. And then okay. Band gain multiplier, it's the main window. It's basically a global EQ setting. Band panning, which I didn't really mess with, pans the individual band position. You can make interesting stereo profiles by messing with that, which again I tend not to, just because. Band gain offset, kind of the same thing as the original. It's a bit different. I have actually really don't really mess with the band or the gain windows. I tend to do the EQ post because I usually add on effects afterwards. Modulator noise level, modulator pass through. Like that just means that modulator pass through anyway. How much of the original modulator goes through on what bands. I don't really mess with those either. Envelope follower, hold, attack, and release. So that's these controls up here. These are all global controls, and then these will control the individual band positions, hold, attack, and release. Something I'm not messed with, but thinking about it, that could kind of cause some cool effects. So maybe I'll look at those later. Band distribution. So what does this one do? This one has a curve, and then it shows you where the bands are. And then I did it by just moving around the bend so that everything is uniform, but you can also just do that. What that does is actually it moves the bands. It doesn't move it according to the pitch or the modulator. It moves it according to the fact that you have decided to move them. So when the EQ profile tells you that there's a band over here, and then you move it up like this, the bands that are here are now over here. And that can cause some interesting effects. Not something I have a huge ton of control over, so I tend not to mess with that either. I just do this, and it creates global pitch changes in the band position like that. So if you want more emphasis on low end or high end, then you can do that pretty easily, and that's just fine. Bandwidth. This is one of the more fun ones. So like this one here is the global bandwidth control for all the bands, and this one just is bandwidth control for individual band locations. And as you plainly heard before, that caused interesting effects. It gives you greater control over the sound like that. And modulator pitch shift is basically the direct counterpart to this global control over here, where up here it gets pitched up and down here it gets pitched down low, and you can tell it which part of the spectrum you want to be pitched up or down, and that's really handy. And saturation, mixing curve, don't really mess with that, so whatever. So yeah, that's a neat effect. So that what this is we're using Vocodex by itself as just a standalone effect on top of something without involving a modulator. However, automating all these controls is still a good idea. So you just have lots of tone and timbre options for things like that. Yeah, was there anything else I want to talk about in this video? Other than voting for my remix, because you should vote for my remix. That'd make me happy. Alright, can't think of anything. I feel like this was supposed to be a longer video. I really feel like I'm missing something. Maybe I thought it would just take longer to explain that. I guess not. If you have any questions, you can ask me in the comments or send me messages, and I'll do my best to address them. You can also hit me up on the Facebook. There'll be a link in the description. That kind of stuff. I also hang out on R EDM production on Reddit. And there's also an IRC channel associated with that I hang out on regularly. So you can come hang out there, ask me questions, and also ask the other people who are there ask questions because they are knowledgeable individuals and they do cool things. Okay, well, thanks for watching, and I hope this is informational and you learn things. And I will talk to you later.